Hello everyone, I'm Ritika Kumbhare from Bajaj Institute of Technology in first year of electrical engineering, and my topic is capacitor. So in this video I'm going to talk about capacitor. So let's see. So let's see about the capacitor. Capacitor is an electronic device which is used to store an electrical energy. If we talk about the construction, then capacitor has two conductive metal plates and dielectric is placed between the conductive plates. And these plates are normally made up of materials such as aluminium, brass or copper, and they are good conductor of electricity. Then the characteristic of capacitor. Capacitance is the ability to store the amount of electrical energy. Capacitance value of the capacitor is measured in picofarads, nanofarads and microfarads, and the large quantity of capacitance is farad. Working voltage is the amount of voltage of capacitor can receive without any damage and failure. Then the tolerance is the extent to which the actual capacitance is allowed to vary from its nominal value. The most common tolerance variation for most of the capacitor is 5% or 10%. Then in a leakage current, a capacitor contains a non-conductive material known as dielectric. The dielectric allows a small amount of electricity through the dielectric called leakage. Then working temperature. Temperature affects the capacitor ability to store electrical energy. Then polarization. Incorrect polarization can lead to several damage within the capacitor and throughout the circuit and device. Then ESR. ESR stand for the equivalent series resistance. Total resistance of every part of the capacitor. Now let's see the type of capacitors. Mainly there are two type of capacitor, fixed and variable. Then the fixed capacitor have the type of polar and non-polar, and supercapacitor and electrolytic capacitor are the type of polar capacitor. And then ceramic capacitor, film capacitor, mica capacitor and glass capacitor. These are the type of non-polar capacitor which is most commonly used. So let's see the type of fixed capacitor. So polar and non-polar are the type of fixed capacitor. So in this we will see firstly polar capacitor, that is supercapacitor and electrolytic capacitor. So supercapacitor, which is also known as supercapacitor and supercap and ultracapacitor. It has a high capacitance but low voltage rating. This type of capacitors can deliver charges much faster than the battery and store more than the electrolytic capacitor. And electrolytes are used in between the electrodes. Then in the electrolytic capacitor, it is made up of two metal plates whose positive plate is covered with an insulating oxide layer. This insulating layer acts as dielectric. On the second cathode terminal, electrolytes is used. Then this is the comparison between supercapacitor and electrolytic capacitor. If we talk about the capacitance range, the supercapacitor have 100 farad to 12,000 farad, and the capacitance range for the electrolytic capacitor is 1 microfarad to 47 millifarad. And the working voltage, current leakage, then tolerance, lifespan, cost is more in supercapacitor than the electrolytic capacitor. If we talk about the application, then supercapacitor is used in audio, power supply filter, and electrolytic used in high frequency applications. Then these are the polar and non-polar type of capacitors. So here are the non-polar type of capacitor, that is ceramic, film, mica and glass. Let's talk about the ceramic. As the name suggests, ceramic capacitor. So the ceramic material is used as dielectric. It is made up of two layers of metal with ceramic as dielectric. The voltage rating of the capacitor depend on its dielectric strength. Ceramic capacitor are available in different shape and styles. That is ceramic disc shape, which is shown in another diagram, and MLCC. So that ceramic disc shape, which is commonly used type of ceramic capacitor having one layer of ceramic between electrodes, and MLCC, that is multi-layer ceramic chip, is rectangular shaped with multiple alternating layer of metal and ceramic materials. Then in a film capacitor is also known as polymer film capacitor or plastic film capacitor, which uses a film of usually plastic and sometimes paper as a dielectric. Its construction has two types, metallized and film foil construction paper capacitor. Then in the metallized capacitor, metallized dielectric film is used, which is made by depositing a metal layer over the dielectric film. The metal can be used aluminum or zinc. Film foil capacitor, as the name implies, uses plastic film as a dielectric and is mounted within two layer of aluminum foil electrode. Then in a mica capacitor are widely used in the high frequency electrical appliances and can be used as standard capacitor. So these are the capacitance value of ceramic film and mica capacitor. So the capacitance range for the ceramic capacitor is 0.1 picofarad up to about 100 microfarad, and for film capacitor is below 1 nanofarad to 30 microfarad, and for mica capacitor few picofarad to 3000 picofarad. If we talk about the tolerance, then film capacitor have the higher tolerance than ceramic and mica capacitor. Then in a application, ceramic capacitor are used in transmitter station, high density applications, and mica capacitor is used in X-ray flashes, power supply in electronic device, and mica capacitor is used in filter and RF circuit. Then in a glass capacitor will have a relatively lower capacitance value. The values of glass capacitor may range from a fraction of a picofarad up to 2 to 3000 picofarad, and glass is used as a dielectric. Glass dielectric capacitor offers very high level of performance and used in RF circuit where ultimate performance is required. Then another type of capacitor is variable capacitor. So the capacitors that are with varying amount of capacitance are known as variable capacitor. Certain ranges of values are provided in variable capacitor. Based on the required values, these capacitors are chosen. This type of capacitors consist of plates made up of metals. Among these plates, one will be fixed, other other will be movable. The range of the capacitance provided by this capacitor is from 10 picofarad to 500 picofarad. Then the most popularly used variable capacitors are tuning capacitor, trimmer capacitor. And the uses are in these capacitors, the type called trimmer capacitor can be easily used on the printed circuit board. And second use is these are used in receivers of the radio. So this is the comparison between electrolytic and ceramic capacitor. So the ceramic capacitor have the capacitance range is 0.1 picofarads to 100 microfarads, and electrolytic capacitor have 0.1 microfarad to 47 millifarads. Then electrolytic capacitor is polar capacitor, so it has a polarity, and ceramic capacitor is non-polar capacitor. So the another point for the ceramic capacitor is has no polarity. Then the voltage and the temperature is less in electrolytic capacitor compared than the ceramic capacitor. Then if we want to read any capacitance value, tolerance and voltage value which is written on the capacitor, so we can read like here, um, if we want to read the tolerance value, capacitance value, and the voltage value which is written on the capacitor, then we can read like the value of capacitance is expressed in picofarad. To decode the value, take the first two digit, then follow with the number of zeros indicated by the third digit. Like this capacitor has the capacitance value 68,000 picofarad, and the letter J indicates the tolerance of the capacitor. So that means plus minus 5% is the tolerance, and 68000, that is 68,000 picofarad, is the capacitance value. Then here 2E indicates the voltage code, that is 250 volt is the voltage of 2E. So 250 volt is the voltage. K indicates plus minus 10%. So plus minus 10% is the tolerance, and 10 follows 50 is the capacitance value in term of picofarads. And lastly, here flash capacitor in camera is fitted. So this flash capacitor is a electrolytic capacitor. So electrolytic capacitor is also known as, not known as, but here is a flash capacitor is also an electrolytic capacitor. So that's all about the capacitor. Thank you.